the shows we watch to the music we listen to, media is a powerful force shaping not just culture, but the subconscious minds of millions. For Black communities, this influence has often been damaging, reinforcing harmful stereotypes and perpetrating cycles of trauma. Beneath the surface, it taps into historical wounds, from slavery's legacy to modern-day racial and sexual exploitation. But how deep does this influence go? This documentary unpacks the complex web of media, culture, and identity. By understanding the psychology behind media manipulation, we can begin to reclaim our own narratives. The journey starts with the power of the mind. For generations, Black communities have been plagued by silent battles, ones waged not only against external oppression, but within the mind itself. Mental illness has long been stigmatized in our culture. The pain is real, but the solutions have often been limited, misunderstood, or outright avoided. Historically, many Black families turn to religion as their primary source of comfort and healing. Faith, while being a cornerstone of strength, has often been used to replace professional therapy and mental health care. Therapy has been viewed as weakness, and meditation as a foreign or taboo practice. Societal issues have only worsened the mental strain. From systemic racism to economic disparities, to the trauma embedded in the very air we breathe, the environments we inhabit often breed generational trauma. Undiagnosed mental illnesses like ADHD, autism, and PTSD run rampant through our communities. These are silent struggles, creating cycles of pain that we've been conditioned to normalize. The brain is a powerful organ, capable of incredible feats, but also at creating false realities. We've all experienced it. The viral blue and black versus white and gold dress. These optical illusions trick the mind into accepting one version of reality, when another truth may be just as real. So when someone says, it's just entertainment, or it's just music, understand that this is the same power at play in our everyday experiences. Media, trauma, and culture have shaped the very way we perceive ourselves and our world. Songs, particularly catchy ones, are more than entertainment. There are tools of repetition, programming our minds to internalize information without even realizing it. Just like the alphabet song taught us our ABCs, modern music and media are teaching us how to think, feel, and behave, embedding these messages into our subconscious. The power of these messages are undeniable, as they shape entire belief systems, creating behaviors that go unnoticed until the damage is done.
Planet Earth about to be recycled. Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us.
When the devil wants to reach you, he sends a narcissist. The narcissist, perhaps the most dangerous personality to cross paths with. They are masters of manipulation, experts at making you believe that their reality is the only one that matters. But there's more to the picture, something darker beneath the surface. Narcissism is a psychological trait that thrives in environments of chaos and neglect. It's marked by charm, manipulation, and most importantly, a carefully constructed mask that hides the true self. Narcissists, like predators, use charm to disguise their selfishness and feed off the energy of others, what psychologists call narcissistic supply. This mask, a facade of charisma and confidence, helps narcissists blend in, but beneath it is a fragile ego, constantly searching for validation. And much like the tricks the mind can play on us, they thrive on manipulating reality. It's no wonder that narcissists often gravitate towards careers that guarantee this supply. Celebrities, influencers, high-power executives. Fame is the perfect breeding ground for narcissism. A constant stream of attention, fans to feed their ego, and a media cycle that reinforces their inflated self-image. In the narcissist's mind, they are the center of the universe, and everyone else is merely a supporting character in their story. For the narcissist, fans are not just admirers. They are the perfect source of narcissistic supply. Every like, every comment, every cheer from the crowd feeds their insatiable need for validation. It's a symbiotic relationship where the narcissist gets their fix of attention. In return, fans get a larger-than-life figure to idolize. But beneath the glitz and glamour lies a dangerous game of manipulation, control, and deceit. In May of 2022, Atlanta rapper Young Thug was charged under the RICO Act, casting a spotlight on the deep-rooted criminality within certain factions of the music industry. Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis made a striking statement that day, one that has reverberated through not only the legal system, but the culture at large.
My number one focus is targeting gangs. They are committing conservatively 75 to 80% of all of the violent crime that we are seeing within our community. And so they have to be rooted out of our community.
This chilling fact echoes what is known as the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule, coined by economist Vilfredo Pareto, suggests that 20% of efforts often account for 80% of the outcomes. This principle is applied in sports, where 20% of the athletes dominate 80% of the wins, or in finance, where 20% of the investors control 80% of the market's wealth. Even in dating dynamics, it's said that a small percentage of individuals attract the mass majority of attention. But perhaps the most painful example of the 80-20 rule can be traced back to the Willie Lynch letter, a haunting blueprint for controlling and dividing the black population. Written in the 18th century, this letter describes how to maintain control of enslaved people by fostering division, separating them by skin tone, age, and status, thus ensuring a cycle of internal conflict. Fast forward to the modern day, and the echoes of Willie Lynch's tactics can be seen in the way certain figures within the black community manipulate the narrative of victimhood, hiding their role in perpetuating violence and division. Young Thug, much like other figures who have fallen from grace, has used his platform to promote a certain lifestyle, one that romanticizes gang culture, violence, and criminality. Narcissists like Young Thug often spin narratives to play the victim, deflecting responsibility for their actions by hiding behind the facade of black culture, disguising bad habits as tradition. In reality, many of these so-called cultural leaders aren't protectors of black communities at all. They are the predators. For them, impoverished children, many of whom are divergent or come from broken homes, are prime targets for exploitation. These children grow up in environments filled with trauma, making them easy prey for the narcissist's manipulation. The record industry is filled with such predators. They lure young, aspiring artists from poverty-stricken backgrounds to exploitative contracts, offering fame and wealth, but delivering far less. Behind the scenes, the abuse of power runs rampant. Drug addiction is nurtured, sexual abuse is normalized, and the cycle of exploitation continues, all in the name of making it. For the narcissists running these empires, the adoration of millions, coupled with the power they hold over their artists, is the ultimate narcissistic supply. The objectification of black bodies dates back centuries, rooted in the atrocities of slavery, and later reinforced through pseudoscience and societal norms. Research reveals a disturbing trend. Black children, specifically black boys, have the earliest sexual initiation on this planet. Black men and women are thrust into a hypersexualized narrative from a young age, a narrative that takes away our innocence and humanity, leading to depression, anxiety, aggression, and an increased likelihood to become abusers ourselves. This phenomenon is deeply tied to the horrors of slavery, where black bodies were not just enslaved, but commodified. Pseudoscience like eugenics was employed to rationalize the exploitation and dehumanization of black people. The belief that we were biologically inferior served as a reason for the objectification and mistreatment of our black bodies. Perhaps no story illustrates the exploitation better than the story of Sarah Baartman. Born in South Africa in the late 18th century, Baartman was brought to Europe under false pretenses, only to be displayed as a freak show attraction. Her body, specifically her large backside, was oogled and examined, symbolizing how black bodies, especially black women, were reduced to mere spectacles of fascination and lust. Fast forward to the present, and the exploitation is taking a new form. The Brazilian butt lift, or BBL, has become one of the most popular cosmetic surgeries in the world. While women of all races undergo this procedure, its appeal is rooted in the exaggerated beauty standards imposed on black women, perpetrated by the very same dynamics that reduced Sarah Bartman to an object centuries ago. Long before cosmetic surgery and social media, the earliest representations of black culture were not just degrading, they were weaponized. Minstrel shows featuring white actors in blackface were the most popular form of entertainment in 19th century America. These performances solidified damaging stereotypes, portraying black people as lazy, buffoonish, and inferior. Hollywood would soon pick up where minstrel shows left off. The 1915 film, Birth of a Nation, is perhaps the most egregious examples, casting black men as savage criminals and sexual predators, perpetrating the myth that they impose an inherent threat to white society. Similar narratives appear in other films, like King Kong, where the monstrous creature served as a stand-in for the so-called dangers of black masculinity. By the 1970s, the blaxploitation era emerged, introducing a new wave of black representation. While the films empowered black audiences by placing them at the center of the action, they also continued to reinforce stereotypes of hyper-violent, hyper-sexualized black characters. It was a step forward and a trap, providing visibility but at the cost of nuance and complexity. The exclusion of black artists wasn't limited to the film industry. In music, trailblazers like Little Richard and Chuck Berry laid the foundation for rock and roll, but were pushed aside as white artists like Elvis Presley took center stage. Black innovators were denied the recognition, wealth, and opportunities that their white counterparts received. Even as the music industry evolved, black artists continued to face barriers. In the 1980s, Michael Jackson had to fight for airplay on MTV, a channel that initially catered almost exclusively to white audiences. It wasn't until the massive success of Billie Jean that Jackson, and black artists in general, finally broke through to the mainstream television. Even as black artists paved the way, much of their innovation was appropriated without their credit. The boy band craze of the early 2000s, and even today's K-pop, borrowed heavily from the sounds, style, and swagger of black R&B music. The source was clear, but the rewards went elsewhere. The Kardashians, perhaps more than any other celebrity, have commodified black culture for personal gain. From fashion, to body types, to relationships, they have co-opted elements of black culture, profited immensely, and yet often escape the scrutiny that black women face for the very same behaviors. In Plato's allegory of the cave, prisoners are trapped in darkness, only able to see the shadows cast on the wall in front of them. To them, these shadows are reality, because it's all they've ever known. But when one prisoner breaks free and steps outside the cave, he realizes that the shadows were mere illusions, and true reality exists beyond the cave's walls. This allegory mirrors how media controls perceptions today. For many, what we see in the news, on social media, and through entertainment is reality. But just like Plato's cave, much of it is distorted, manipulated by those who control the narrative, the puppet masters of our time. Some of the most powerful puppet masters in the entertainment industry have been black men, token figures who seemingly rose to the top but left trails of destruction in their wake. Russell Simmons, once hailed as a pioneer of hip-hop, was later accused of sexual assault by multiple women. These accusations rocked the industry, but also expose how even those who appear to be champions of our black culture can hide sinister truths. Then there's Diddy, a mogul with immense influence, but whose career has been plagued by rumors and accusations. From claims of exploitation to whispers of dark dealings behind the scenes, Diddy's public image is often in conflict with the allegations surrounding him. R. Kelly's fall from grace is perhaps the most chilling example. For decades, he was shielded by his talent and success, while accusations of sexual abuse, particularly against young black women, were swept under the rug. The media played a huge role in both elevating him and eventually exposing him, but only after years of silence. Other industry figures like Birdman, Lil Wayne, and Drake have faced whispers of grooming accusations, further highlighting the dark side of the music world. These accusations often go buried, sidelined by the power and the fame of the accused. In each case, the media plays its role, either feeding into the narrative or allowing it to disappear. But the manipulation doesn't end with celebrity scandals. The media also plays a critical role in the criminalization of Black people, feeding into a system of oppression that benefits for-profit prisons. The 13th Amendment, which abolishes slavery, left a loophole, allowing slavery to persist as a punishment for a crime. This loophole has been exploited for generations, with Black individuals disproportionately incarcerated to fuel a billion-dollar prison industry. For Black youth, the media becomes a double-edged sword. Not only does it criminalize our communities, but it also distorts our sense of self, bombarding us with images and narratives that tell us who we are, from music videos glorifying crime to reality shows feeding stereotypes. The media shapes how young Black people see ourselves and our place in this world. And it's not just entertainment. The government has long been involved in the surveillance and targeting of Black leaders. Figures like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Fred Hampton were all subjected to intense government scrutiny, often portrayed in the media as radical threats to society. These narratives not only discredited them, but also justified their targeting by law enforcement. The puppet masters behind the scenes, whether in the media, entertainment industry, or government, hold immense power over perceptions, crafting stories that shape our reality. But as in Plato's cave, the question remains: will we continue to accept the shadows on the wall as truth, or will we break free and see the world for what it truly is? Mindfulness is key. Incorporating principles like the 4 agreements, especially agreement number 2, don't take anything personally, can help shield us from the negative energy often projected by media. Rather than internalizing harmful narratives, we can listen to music and watch content with the mind of a therapist, analyzing without absorbing others' pain or experiences as our own. One of the most powerful ways to shift the narrative is by supporting Black-owned media. These creators, journalists, and platforms provide stories and perspectives that are often ignored or distorted by mainstream outlets. By amplifying our voices, we can ensure that authentic Black experiences are told by those who live them instead of those who profit from them. It's not just about calling out bias. It's about demanding fair representation, accountability, and dismantling the structures that continue to exploit Black culture while vilifying Black people. The media shapes our minds, our culture, and our future. It's time to take control of the narrative, support those who tell the truth, and advocate for a world where everyone's story can be heard.